Good morning. This is Dan Bonner, and I want to welcome you to this devotional with Chaplain Dan. I'm a volunteer chaplain here at the Wesleyan at Australia, and it's a true gift to me that you would let go of a few minutes this morning to share with me. I frankly don't know how many residents watch and listen to these devotionals on Channel 18, but really, it's not a question of how many. It's simply the gift of thinking, of reflecting, and of being together as people of faith. It's in that spirit that I'm honored to be with you today. I want to share with you a thought that is increasingly on my mind as I've examined this business of growing older, not as a theoretical construct, but as a real life experience. I find that in my journey, a whole big bunch of the problem I have with aging is letting go of what is passing away, what can no longer be. Physically, what I'm not able to do that once I did. Mentally, I often find myself unable to recall a name or a place. Those of you who know me know that's not an absolutely new thing, but believe it or not, once upon a time, when I was a young adult, I was pretty good with things like names and addresses and phone numbers, direction. Now, more times than not, it's pretty well a moment of silence when I'm trying to remember someone's name, a last name particularly, and then maybe it comes to me. Have you ever had that feeling? Or the incredibly awkward feeling in a conversation of when you are looking for that name and it does not come. Yes, aging is a time where holding on to things, memories, details, events, dates, holding on to things even that matter more. Vigor, discipline, health. Increasingly, these things I find, and perhaps you do, these things are fleeting. I recall as a child being just absolutely entranced when my parents took me and my brothers to Dallas, which was the largest city, the large city closer to Sulphur Springs, Texas than any other city. And we went once specifically because Mother and Daddy wanted us to see the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. If not in person, have you ever seen that or another big circus? In that mesmerizing auditorium, as a 7 or 8-year-old, I remember being captivated, not so much by the lions and tigers and elephants. I'd read about them. But oh, the majesty and the mystery and the fearfulness that came from the trapeze artists. I've never seen anything like that. The team of artists, and they really are, climbed the ropes to their positions on the trapeze, the amalgam of ropes and loops, and in thin air they flew. How? How could anyone do that? And then, in the midst of a big swing in the air, the trapeze artist would let go of that which supported them, the rope. Another member of the team holding hands. They let go in thin air. And then they twirled and twirled and twirled. And just as I, in fear, watched, assured that they were going to crash and harm themselves greatly, at just the moment of my greatest fear, another member of the team swung into their proximity in the air and caught them. Oh, what power that had for a 7 or 8-year-old boy. They let go in thin air. They lift themselves up and they let themselves go with no net even below the just hard ground. The art of letting go. As I age, the art of letting go is one of the very toughest things. Not to, reclaim the way I once was. Not to, have the quick mind that I once, in moderation, lest I boast. And I have no reason to boast except the gifts that others have given me. But my mind is nowhere near as agile as it once was. Aging. Like the trapeze flyer, aging seems to leave me some moments up in the air, seemingly with no place except to fly in the emptiness of that time. I share with you something that gave me hope and assurance. When I read it this morning, earlier, as part of my morning time, my devotional reflection, the morning office, I call it just my time with God. It comes from the second half of the second verse of the 31st Psalm. Now, I'm no biblical scholar. I'm certainly no scholar of the Hebrew Scriptures, including the Psalms, but I love them. And I've gotten into the habit of, when I'm in a quandary, simply opening my Bible and letting the pages in the book of Psalms fall wherever they may, and then let my eyes look. That's where I found this phrase. Especially powerful it is to me as aging creates a bewildering sense of falling. Be thou a rock of refuge for me, a strong fortress to save me. I know I learned from the first verse of that 31st Psalm that this is a blessed affirmation, not a fearful cry from the psalmist to God. Let me read that phrase again. And if you're flying through thin air, not quite sure how you're going to land, or where, or in what, but you can't hold on any longer to the way you used to be, hear this. Be thou a rock of refuge for me, O Lord, a strong fortress to save me. Just as the trapeze artist flew through the air and let go and seemingly fell and twirled in the midst of nothingness. Another member of the team, I learned later, called the catcher, swung into proximity and took the arm and hand of the falling flyer. Every one of us are falling, I suspect. O Lord, be our catcher. O Lord, thank you for being our rock, our salvation. Thanks for being with me today. May these words from the psalmist be as assuring to you as I found them this morning. Thanks be to God. I'll see you next time. In the meantime, as you fly and fall and falter, Have no fear. Oh, that's not real. In the midst of your fear are mine, at aging, at losing. We have a rock, a catcher, a strong and sure Redeemer, our God. Have a blessed day in that assurance.